Not all brain injuries show up on radiological films like CT scans and MRIs. So sometimes you don't know.
Do you know what the invisible injury is and why is it called that? Well, we're going to find out today when we Ask the Lawyer. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is Kentucky attorney Tad Thomas. Tad, good to see you again. Thank you for making some time.
You too, Rob. How are you doing?
Let's talk about the invisible injury. We're talking about brain injury. Why is it sometimes called the invisible injury?
Rob, it's called an invisible injury because sometimes it's hard to diagnose. Not all brain injuries show up on radiological films like CT scans and MRIs. So sometimes you don't know, other than just personality changes and the way that someone's demeanor changes. I had a client once that he had this dog that he loved, suffered a brain injury, and then overnight, started hating the dog and abusing the dog, and couldn't see anything on an MRI scan or on a CT scan, but it was clearly a brain injury.
So I would imagine, obviously, that makes it difficult for doctors to diagnose, but does that make it also difficult to prove that, for you to prove that there is actually an injury?
It really does. Fortunately, medicine is really starting to come along in that area. Over the last several years, there's more and more new tests coming out that help us diagnose brain injuries. But the key that we always look for is, family and friends. When the family and friends say, this person's just not the same person they used to be, that's when we know to start looking at a brain injury. But yes, it is difficult to prove.
It's also a wide scale, isn't it? I know when my son took a bad hit in high school football and he got a concussion, that's a brain injury, but then it can go all the way to the other and it's got something much more serious, right?
Absolutely. You can have something, very temporary where, like a concussion that comes and goes, and in a week, they're fine. My son plays ice hockey, like your son. It's a dangerous sport, and you see concussions, unfortunately, quite often. And sometimes they're called mild TBIs, mild traumatic brain injury. In our business, and I think in medicine as well, they'll tell you there is no such thing as a mild brain injury. They, even though they're not as severe as other types of injuries or other types of brain injuries, even a mild one, it can be a real problem.
What are some of the challenges that people with brain injuries you've had as clients that they may face that people may not even realize?
It changes everything about their daily lives. It changes their relationships with their friends. It changes their relationships with their family. And it's difficult to treat. Fortunately, we have contacts in the industry where we can send someone for, essentially brain injury rehab. And it's very different than a physical medicine rehab that you would normally think of. But there are avenues out there for people to get treatment.
It would seem to me, too, that if someone is injured in a car collision and they break a leg, they know they've broken a leg, but the brain injured person may not realize they're injured, correct?
That's right. Look for those signs of, family and friends telling you that something's wrong. And, you may see it in yourself. You may see that the things that you love to do and the people that you loved in your life don't hold that same level and that same esteem. And you really have to hearken back to when that started, and oftentimes it can be a motor vehicle collision, a tractor trailer collision. It can even be in a medical malpractice case. We have a case now where a woman lost oxygen during a procedure and suffered a brain injury. So it can come from anything.
And you mentioned family and friends. I would imagine this is the kind of thing that not only affects the injured person, but can affect the entire household.
Definitely. We've seen some tragic stories, of children who, they wonder what happened, and, they wonder, why their parent is having these fits of rage that they never had before. And it can be tragic not only for the person who suffered the injury, but definitely for a close-knit family.
Is it important if someone thinks or they or a loved one has suffered a brain injury as a result of someone else's negligence, that they find an attorney who specializes in this, or can any personal injury attorney handle that?
No, I mean, any personal injury attorney can technically handle a brain injury case, but it's important if you're seeking an attorney to ask what they know about brain injury cases, but also brain injury diagnosis and brain injury treatment, because, like I said, medicine's advanced quite a bit over the last several years. Make sure you're hiring a lawyer who knows what those technological advances are, that has access to really, really good experts who know how to identify and treat. And an attorney also should be a counselor and should help you. And if you can't find the right medical resources, attorneys who handle brain injury cases can help with that. They can steer you to the right providers as well. So make sure if you're looking for an attorney that handles brain injury cases, ask them those questions. They should be able to answer those for you.
I would think also, Tad, that when it comes to determining possible monetary damages, having somebody who understands it may not be just, from the hospital payments. There's a whole continuation of life thing that they have to consider. Having somebody with that experience would be really helpful.
Right. You hit two good points. One is knowing, what the cost of future treatment is. You need an attorney who knows what that treatment's going to be and how to quantify that so that that element of damages is taken care of and you can get the treatment that you need. But pain and suffering, most states have some sort of pain and suffering or lost enjoyment of life. And you need to find a firm that really knows how to, put that into words and be your advocate and be your spokesperson in front of a jury so that you can communicate how this has affected you.
Very helpful, very interesting as usual, Tad. Thank you for making some time answering our questions.
Thanks for having me again, Rob.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Kentucky attorney Tad Thomas. Remember, if you want the best information or you want to be able to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, go to askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to subscribe by clicking on the button down in the corner. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with askthelawyer.com.